Hello and welcome to this lecture on Adobe Photoshop by Eduonix. In this lecture we're going to be going over how to sharpen a photo, and I'm going to give you three techniques. And the first one is the Unsharpened Mask technique. And it should be noted that these techniques use detection, and what they use to detect is looking for edges wherever they can see where there are adjacent pixels. One is light and one's dark. And wherever there's adjacent pixels where there are these chains where it recognizes like a bunch of light pixels next to a bunch of dark pixels, it recognizes that as a line. So let's get right into it. So I'll start out by selecting my entire image, but I'm going to do a double image here. So I can see a before and after at all times. I'm running this tutorial on a different processor and a different machine altogether. This is my backup. It's an i5 rather than a quad core. I'm seeing some differences in different OS too. But here is this is going to be the one I'm going to work on. So I'll go ahead and lock the other one. So up in Filter, down in Sharpen is Unsharp Mask. It gives you an initial window, but I always like to use Preview. So the amount is the amount of this that's actually being applied, and it's really the amount of detail that's being put on there. So the radius, wherever it finds an edge, the radius applies that however many pixels you selected away from the edge. And I'm pretty sure it's in like a curve away from the edge. That's why the radius is laid out in a parabolic way. Like right here is 180, but right here is 1,000. And then right here is 6.2. You can see the difference though in this image. There's 20 and there's 4. So I'm just going to go up to Unsharp Mask again, and I need to explain the threshold. The threshold is the amount of contrast there has to be between these lines that it finds, that I was describing, for it to apply anything. And here with our original settings, if I were to set the threshold up to almost all the way, see very little difference. because this is a low resolution image. But as it starts to go up, and down, you can start to see the difference. Your threshold and your radius are always going to be proportionate to the distance. But just playing around with that, you can see how it works. It's pretty simple and straightforward. Now I just changed my color mode by going up to Image and then down to Lab Color. You can do this in RGB, but I recommend using Lab so you can utilize the lightness channel. Come over here and select it in your channels palette. You'll notice it'll change everything to black and white. And then go up to Filter and then down to Find Edges and Stylize. That's going to create this kind of rough black and white. If you have a different image, like if it's not skin, you might get a better result. And in fact, I'm going to revert just so I can use the whole image, and I'll just do the single view. So I'm going to go into Lab Color, I'll go ahead and duplicate this. I can just click it on and off to compare. And select the lightness channel. And of course, Filter, Stylize, Find Edges. I'll duplicate this one more time. So real quick with your photo normally, just take one of the backup images you have, copy it, and then go to create a new channel. And depending on what foreground color you have, as you can see over here, is what will pop up. So we created an alpha channel. So now is the time that you actually want to do the Find Edges command. So now we want to open a curves adjustment layer. Now the curves open, we're going to bring our light down to about 50%. And this up to about 20 or so. Whatever gives you the best contrast. I do it so it's only hitting the layer below it. Now you might want to get some more, it's up to you, depending on your image, some more contrast. something like that. So basically I'm just going to want this to be, I want my selection, and I'm going to Control or Command on a Mac, click the layer that I've contrasted. In this case it's the lightness channel, it can be anything. And go ahead to this photo underneath it, since I have all that selected, and you might want to grow your selection a little bit. I can go back to Lab and I can take this filter off. Go back to Lab, Color Mode. So everything looks normal, but I have my selection now. So I'm going to invert it. So that's just selecting those features. And I could have gotten a little bit more of the lip, but you'll see anyway what it does. Mainly focusing on the eye area. And go up to View, Hide Selection Edges. And that's under View, Show, and Selection Edges, just so it's cleaner. And then with your Select tool, go to Refine Edge, and you want to be able to see it. You're just going to feather this and shift it, just so it's a little bit away from the center. You want your feathering to be more than your shifting. I don't know how else better to explain that, but so we've just edited our selection. And now we'll just go into the Unsharpened mask. And this works really well on architectural drawings and stuff, but basically what you're doing is you're making it so that the area that is not selected isn't getting sharpened. That's why the blur step at the end is very important, so you don't see that hard line in between them. Anyway, this isn't going to be a very far out selection, so a lower radius is fine. But I'm going to give it a lot of amount here. So before we actually sharpen, we want to make sure that the selected area is her eyes, and that's what's going to be unsharpening. Usually I just hit delete. And then I can see that I had her eyes selected. So I'll hit undo to get out of that. So you can see the difference there. And it's not focusing on areas because we don't want the softness of the skin to be sharpened. Try this with a mechanical photograph or something with a lot of hard edges in it, and you'll see exactly what I mean. It's basically we're just targeting the edges. We're letting Photoshop use this edge recognition, and then we're taking that and manually applying the sharpening. That's the difference you have. Like, you can see a lot more detail in the eyelashes. It might be a little bit much. I mean, eyelashes always tend to look clumpy after you've done that a little bit, but so there you have it. Try that with some flat mechanical images or some architectural images. And as always, thanks for watching.